Hello, and welcome to Frank's School. Rogers here. This is the third year, second day, first video as an alternative. I explained that in the last video. If it were an alternative way to start the school year. If you just went according to chronology, this would be the 44th day. All right, a word about what I said yesterday about geography. I had said that in a homeschool environment, you could, I think you could profitably use that trip that I put online into Portugal and Galicia, which is part of Spain, as geography for, I don't know, maybe a quarter of the year. But it also occurred to me that if you would put that together with the videos that I put on last year about what I called Frank's Tour d'Europe, then that was a very dramatic thing to do for me, actually. It was a longer tour, and it went all the way from Denmark the whole way down to Portugal and Spain and the whole way back. And it was extensive, and it's longer. But if you would put those two together, there I think you could have half a year's geography class by the time you beefed it up with some research and tried to follow where I went. So I don't know, think about it. Now, the Taming of the Shrew. It takes place in Padua. Now this is what you should buy, or the DVD. I said before, I think that's better. But anyway, and here is the script. These only cost about $1.50. When I was teaching in public school, we had something called the Shakespearean Troupe as a club. I wasn't paid for it. I just did it after school, and for 7 or 8 years we put on something like 25 full productions of Shakespearean plays. And we did the Taming of the Shrew, I think twice. I'm not positive about that, I think. But in any case, this I highly recommend to Dover Thrift Editions. They are so inexpensive. There are notes. And you can write in them. The kids can put them in their back pocket, or adults. Well, anyway, at the beginning of it, it says dramatis personae. That means the play's persons, the people in the play. It takes place in Padua. And it actually begins with a framing device, which I think is usually never used. Well, it might be used, but Shakespearean plays are fairly long anyway, and by cutting the framing device off, you shorten it. So the framing device is usually not included. It involves a trick being played on a stupid guy, a drunk guy, I guess, and when he wakes up, everybody pretends that he's a lord, and it's okay. I mean, I'm sure an Elizabethan audience just loved that, but and they were ready for plenty of time. They were looking for a good time when they went to see a play. Anyway, here are the people. Baptista is the father of these two girls. He's rich. He's one of the richest men in Padua, and both of these girls are beautiful, Bianca and Catarina. She's also known as Kate or Catherine. She's the shrew that is tamed, ultimately. Now, she's older, Bianca's younger, and Bianca is just as sweet and mild as Kate is vicious. A shrew is a mean-tempered, nasty woman. Foul-mouthed, mean. A shrew. And everybody would love to marry Bianca because she's beautiful, she's rich, she's mild. But Baptista has laid down the law that no, she may not marry until her older sister is married. So this is a real problem. How to find somebody who's crazy enough to marry Catarina. One guy said it would be like being married to hell. A guy going by says that. No way. The whole town's afraid of her. Now, into town, well, I'll tell you about Petruchio and Grumio in a moment. But these two guys would love, they would love to marry her. They're the principal suitors. There might only be one if you're an effeminate. Grumio is this old guy, and that's a little easy to remember because it's gray. He's got gray hair. He's old, but he somehow thinks he's got a chance. With Bianca, Hortensio is real effeminate portrayed in Zeffirelli's version of it. He's got long blonde hair. He looks kind of girlish. Effeminate. Not sure about that F. But anyway, that's to try to distinguish them. Well, the two of them get together and they decide they've got to come up with somebody to marry Caterina. Somebody crazy enough to do that. Because then, and they'll do it together. They'll work together to try to make this happen, so that then they can compete to see who can get Bianca. Whoever runs the fastest wins the cup, or something like that, says one of the guys. So they'll see, but first they got this problem. Well, into town comes Petruchio. Actually, wait. The play begins with Lucentio. Lucentio is a young, handsome guy, and he's got a servant, Tranio. I guess he's got two, but Tranio. And Tranio changes his name at one point to Cambio. These two switch roles. He's the master and he's the servant, but they switch roles. I'll tell you why in a moment. But it opens with him. He comes to Padua to suck the sweets of sweet philosophy. He says he comes to study. He's going to school there. But Tranio, if any of you look at these clips of this, you need to be warned. I mean, it's a little lusty. Tranio sees this prostitute and he's interested. Tranio makes the comment, he says, no profit grows where is no pleasure taken. So he hopes that they'll not only study, that they'll have some pleasure as well. Well, Lucentio catches sight of Bianca early and is just taken. Now there are some pretty good lines in that opening part. Act 1, Scene 1, I think is what it is, and I think this is a guy, or whoever, guy or girl that put it on as Act 1, Scene 1. You can see how it begins if you wish. So he just is so taken with Bianca, he decides she's so beautiful he has to marry her. So it ends up there's 3 suitors for Bianca. Now, Baptista does say that he will allow teachers to come to Bianca because she likes to study. So a Latin teacher, music teacher, teachers. And so these guys, the effeminate guy, he dresses up in a beard and pretends to be a music teacher. Gremio, he doesn't pretend to be a teacher. But he introduces Hortensio, I think, as the teacher, yes. And Lucentio, he hears this too. So he says, aha, we'll switch places, and you introduce me, your servant, as a Latin teacher. So both of these, in an effort to try to get together with Bianca long enough to woo her and convince her to marry them. But this remains a problem. Well, Petruchio comes to town. Petruchio arrives and he says, I come to wive it wealthily in Padua. If wealthily, then happily in Padua. He doesn't care. He's kind of there's no love in him. He ran out of money. He ran out of his father's money. And so he decides the thing to do is to go get a wife with money. He doesn't care what she looks like or anything as long as she's got money. He's a rough guy. Played by Richard Burton. Caterina is played by Elizabeth Taylor. Wonderful. I think it's probably their greatest roles. In real life, they were married. I'm not sure if they were married at the time that they did this play. You could research that. Well, he has a servant, Grumio, and he's an acquaintance of Hortensio. And so he stays at Hortensio's house, and Hortensio thinks, aha, here's the guy. So these guys are going to take Petruchio to meet Baptista and see if he can get permission to woo Catherine. Now, what I would do the first day of the viewing, I would explain all this stuff to the kids, but I wouldn't start at the beginning. I mean, it's a Shakespearean play, and you have to catch the kids, and they're not going to just automatically like it because, oh, this is Shakespeare. There's lots to see in that opening. But usually I explain that. This is called the exposition. All this stuff, you've got to figure it out from the play. Somebody doesn't just explain it to you. I explain it to them, and then the place I started when I used this in school was right where they are approaching Baptista's palace, his fancy house. One guy's got a horn on his shoulder, looks like a sousaphone sort of. And sometimes I start it slightly before that because I like to show the way Richard Burton acts with Gremio. He's talking to him. He's obviously got bad breath. You can see that by the way Richard Burton or Petruchio acts. And I'll pause it. That's one of the reasons why I say use this, because you can pause it and start it so easily in a classroom. I pause it and I say, now what can you tell about Gremio from the way Petruchio's acting? And usually the students pick up, oh, he smells. Yeah. And by doing that all the time, I'm getting the kids to look at details and discussing it as we go. Or a speech will go by and I'll pause it and I'll say, now what did that mean? I come to wive it wealthily in Padua? What's that mean? If wealthily, then happily in Padua? And I pause it. Now the kids after a while get annoyed because they get into it and they want to watch it. They don't want to discuss it. But nonetheless, as a teacher, I teach about this and say you can watch it anytime the rest of your life. So anyway, I started there, and that's what I would recommend to you as well. Probably even if you're a homeschooler, if you have any doubts that your child will be interested, because the action really picks up soon after that. And then the first day's viewing, I would only take it to the point where Petruchio has gotten permission to woo Catherine. He says, oh, how I long to have some chat with her. You could use that as your mark. There's the place to stop. But I would hold it before he goes, if you see Catarina throwing a music stand or busting stuff, in her room, then you've gone too far. Earlier, you'll see her throw a stool down out of the window. There's a lot of action, and it's usually pretty easy to catch the kids just because of that, even if they don't understand. Well, I'll have more to say, but there's enough now that you could get going on this, and if you don't have it, or you're not going to find a way to get the whole movie, well, at the very least, I would urge you to click on the link, which I'll put in the description. Shirley has told me all along I needed to do that, and I will. I figure, hey, if my viewers care, they'll go find these, but I'll give you the link. This is the best moments. I think it's 10 minutes long. He's put together the best moments of the movie, what he thinks. And this guy or girl put on the Act 1, Scene 1. And maybe if you find a better way for viewers to see this, please put it in as a comment. All right, well, I hope you enjoy. We'll see you next time.